Welcome to World Insight. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates. In the summer of 2025, global trade was rocked by a bold and controversial move from President Donald Trump, newly re-elected and eager to reassert his America First agenda on the world stage. Trump, never one to shy away from confrontation, was determined to make a statement that would be heard far beyond Washington. On July 30th, Trump announced a sweeping 25% tariff on all Indian imports, effective August 1st, stacked atop an existing 10% tariff. The announcement sent shockwaves through business communities and government offices in both countries, as companies scrambled to assess the impact. The justification? Trump accused India of unfairly high tariffs on American goods and obnoxious trade barriers, claiming that the playing field had been tilted against the US for far too long. Months of negotiations had failed to break the deadlock. India had offered to lower tariffs on select US products and buy more American oil, fighter jets and Harley-Davidsons, but Trump wanted a total overhaul to shrink the $46 billion US trade deficit with India. For Trump, incremental change was never enough. The timing and severity of the tariffs were classic Trump: maximum pressure, minimal compromise. He believed that only bold action would force India to the negotiating table on his terms. With the US as India's top trading partner, $87 billion in Indian exports last year, Trump believed he held the upper hand. The sheer scale of trade between the two nations meant the stakes were enormous for both sides. He framed the move as a matter of fairness, claiming India had taken advantage of the US for years, and that it was time to restore balance and protect American workers. But this time, India was no pushover. Its economy was booming, its technology sector was thriving, and its leaders were determined to chart their own course, refusing to be bullied by Washington. The tariffs weren't just an economic threat, they were a test of India's resolve and ambition on the world stage, challenging its leaders to respond with strength and unity. The world watched as a new high-stakes confrontation began, with global trade, diplomatic relationships, and future alliances hanging in the balance. The stage was set for a showdown that would reshape the rules of international commerce, and perhaps redefine the balance of power for years to come. The dispute quickly escalated beyond trade, drawing in deeper questions about global alliances and national priorities. It soon entangled India's long-standing ties with Russia, a relationship rooted in decades of defense and energy cooperation. On August 5th, Trump threatened even higher tariffs, this time targeting India's continued purchase of Russian oil, linking trade to the war in Ukraine and raising the stakes for India's foreign policy. India pushed back hard. As the world's third-largest oil importer, Russian crude was vital to its energy security and economic stability, especially as global prices fluctuated. Indian officials argued their purchases stabilized global oil prices, preventing chaos in world markets and shielding millions from inflation. They also called out US and European hypocrisy. While pressuring India, the West continued trading with Russia, importing everything from LNG to uranium and quietly maintaining their own economic interests. This charge of double standards strengthened India's diplomatic hand, giving it leverage in international forums and negotiations. India's government made clear its relationship with Moscow was non-negotiable, a cornerstone of its independent foreign policy. High-level visits to Russia went ahead as planned, signaling India's unwavering commitment to strategic autonomy and its refusal to be swayed by outside pressure. India's refusal to bow to US pressure marked a new era of assertiveness, balancing global powers on its own terms and redefining its role on the world stage. The world saw a nation unwilling to compromise its interests even under immense pressure, and a people united behind a vision of sovereignty and self-determination. Trump's tariffs were meant to punish India, aiming to pressure the country into making trade concessions and open its markets further to American goods. But instead, American consumers felt the pain first, as prices began to rise on everyday essentials and critical products. India supplies a third of US pharmaceutical imports, including affordable generics and life-saving drugs that millions of Americans rely on for their health and well-being. Tariffs threaten to spike healthcare costs for millions, making it harder for families and seniors to afford the medicines they need. The impact didn't stop there. Tariffs sent shockwaves through the entire US economy, affecting a wide range of products. India had overtaken China as the top smartphone exporter to the US, thanks to Apple's shift away from China and a growing electronics sector. Now, iPhones and other devices faced steep price hikes, putting the latest technology out of reach for many Americans. From fashion to home goods, India is a major supplier. Gems, jewelry, linens, apparel, and more fill American stores and homes. History showed tariffs led to sharp price increases. Shoes up 39%, apparel up 37% in past rounds, squeezing household budgets even further. Even food and tech weren't spared. Shrimp, petroleum and semiconductors all got pricier, impacting everything from dinner tables to digital devices. The result? A broad-based price surge across the U.S. economy, turning tariffs into a hidden tax on American households and businesses alike. The policy backfired, exposing the risks of disrupting global supply chains in a deeply interconnected world where every link matters. Instead of protecting American jobs, the tariffs hit American wallets, leaving workers and families to bear the brunt of higher costs. The lesson was clear. In global trade, pain travels both ways, and policies meant to protect can sometimes hurt those they aim to help. Throughout negotiations, India stood firm on one non-negotiable: protecting its farmers and rural economy. The US pushed hard to open India's agricultural and dairy markets, but for India, this was a red line, with nearly half its workforce in agriculture. Exposing small farmers to subsidized US agribusiness risked disaster and social unrest. Memories of massive farmer protests in 2020 were still fresh. No government wanted a repeat. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman made it clear agriculture and dairy were off limits. India's stance wasn't stubbornness. It was a calculated defense of its most vulnerable citizens and social stability. The tariff crisis forced India into a high-wire act, balancing its U.S. partnership with its historic ties to Russia. Washington demanded alignment on Russia and trade reforms. Moscow remained a key energy and defense partner. India's answer: strategic autonomy. It refused to pick sides, defending its interests while keeping dialogue open with both powers. U.S. officials planned more talks, proof that India's resistance didn't close doors. India's approach, firm on core issues, flexible elsewhere, showcased a new model of multi-alignment. This wasn't old-school non-alignment but active engagement with all major powers. India's diplomatic dexterity boosted its global reputation as a stable, pragmatic partner. The world saw a rising power charting its own course, inspiring other nations to do the same. The era of binary choices was over. India was helping shape a multipolar world. The tariff dispute spotlighted India's rapid rise as a global manufacturing hub. Apple's shift from China to India was just the beginning. Tariffs accelerated the trend. The China Plus One strategy and India's Make in India push drew foreign investment in electronics, pharma, autos, and textiles. The crisis made India look more stable and reliable than volatile U.S. trade policy. Global companies saw India as a smart, long-term bet, not just a tariff dodge. Manufacturing growth cushioned the blow of U.S. tariffs. With domestic production and foreign investment surging, India's diversified economy proved resilient, letting it negotiate from strength. The unintended result: tariffs sped up India's transformation into a formidable manufacturing power. The world took notice. India was no longer just a market, but a global production engine. The crisis became a catalyst for India's economic ascent. When the dust settled, India emerged stronger, economically and diplomatically. The tariffs, meant to punish, instead showcased India's confidence and resilience. Indian exporters diversified, reforms accelerated, and markets quickly stabilized. India maintained ties with both the US and Russia, proving its multi-alignment strategy worked. The world saw India as an independent power, not a junior partner. Trump's gambit backfired. US consumers paid more, while India grew bolder and more self-reliant. 2025 marked the moment India truly came of age on the global stage.